about in the last segment how Chris Stapleton's like, hey, I didn't sign my kids up for fame, so let's kind of keep them out of the limelight. I know with your kids, this has kind of been a discussion too, Eddie.
Yeah, same kind of thing. Until they're old enough to make their own decision. If they want to be public, they can be public.
You keep their faces off of Instagram, Twitter.
Correct.
Right. And so what are the conversations that you have with him about stuff like that?
Well, the conversations is just kind of like the internet, which it's a hard conversation because you don't want to scare him or anything, but he's playing a game called Among Us right now.
Is that the game that Raymundo told us about?
Oh, is it?
Among Us, where you go into a room and...
Okay, so apparently he was playing it because when you asked me, I was like, no, I've never heard of that. But apparently he is playing that, and it's got some kind of chat feature in it where you have to chat to kind of communicate with the rest of your team in there so you can win the game. And my wife was real strict about no chatting. Like, you just don't chat with strangers, and we had to have the awkward conversation of you don't really know who you're talking to when you chat on the internet. It could be a 12-year-old boy like you. It could be a 60-year-old man, that could be anyone. So he's never thought of it. So it was a good conversation to have, but awkward because I've got to spit out, just kind of examples of.
Well, you should tell him the one about me when I got catfished.
Okay, that's a good one. Go ahead and tell me.
You don't remember?
I mean, I do, but refresh my memory.
So I met this girl online, and she was a Guess Jeans model.
Oh, boy.
And no girl ever wanted anything to do with me. This is before I had any real success in anything. And no girl, I was like, wow, I was blinded by the fact that a pretty girl liked me. And she was like, I'm in California, but I'm coming to Texas soon. We should get together. And I'm like, okay. So I go into the radio studio and I say, Lunchbox, Amy, look at this girl. She likes me. I'm going to go on a date with her. And they both go, ha, 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 you're stupid. And I'm like, you guys don't even know she's real. Because I tried to talk to her a couple times on webcam. And I talked to her, but for some reason, her camera was broken and we could only hear each other.
Of course.
And she was like, I'm really trying to fix it. She would send me pictures and videos, but I could never get her to say my name in a video. But I was like, that's okay. So
I just ignored all that.
Yeah. So I told her online one night, I said, hey, they don't believe that you're real. And she said, well, what can we do to prove it? And I said, do you mind coming on the radio show and telling them? And she's like, no problem. So the next morning she comes on the air with us.
Okay.
And she's like, hey, I just such a big fan and I want to go on a date with you, is all this stuff. And I'm like, I told you guys. And Amy's like, is she drunk?
Yeah, sounded awful.
So I'm like, guys, leave her alone. You're being rude to our guest and the future girl who wants to go on a date with me. I'm blinded by it all. And so she's like, hey, look, why don't we meet at the mall, at the Barton Creek Mall?
She said this.
Yeah, she was flying in that night. Let's meet at the Barton Creek Mall.
Perfect.
I'm like, finally. We'll go have a little Chinese. We'll catch up.
This is what you thought in your head.
Maybe walk by Banana Republic. I can do a little flex
Oh.
about buying some nice pants.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so she's like, I'll be there. And so I go to the mall and I'm waiting. She doesn't show up. And I get a text, hey, my flight's late. And I'm waiting. She doesn't show up. Hey, it looks like we're delayed. Hey, looks like I'm not going to be able to do it tonight. I've been waiting there for 2 hours. And I'm like, dang it. And I was embarrassed to go back because I knew once, because her flight was delayed, that they weren't going to believe me. And it was unfair of them to not believe.
Yeah, so unfair.
And so I go back to the studio the next morning and I go, her flight was delayed. And so we didn't get to hang out last night. And they're like, she's not real.
They're still telling you this.
And I'm so mad at Amy because I expect Lunchbox to be like that because he's jealous. I got a Guess Jeans model coming at me.
Yeah.
But Amy, I was like, A2 Brute, you don't want to me. He's like, be excited. She's like, it ain't real. And so I text her and we stopped texting. And she wouldn't text me back. And so I thought, well, much like every other girl, they just decided that they didn't want to be with me anymore.
Oh,
Maybe she wasn't coming to town because her brother lived in town, which was really cool. And so 3 or 4 months go by and I hadn't heard from her. So at the time I was getting ghosted before ghosting was even a real thing. And we get sent by a listener we had at the time who still may listen, I'm not sure, Travis, the research guy, who would always call in with facts about stuff we were talking about. He was like, hey, this look familiar? And the news story said, man in Austin, Texas busted because he was fooling old men into thinking he was a girl, this model.
Old men.
And getting money from them. Well, I was 26 at the time. And I was like, what? And then I started to read it. And it was this real small guy, so he had a kind of feminine voice.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And he would stay in a hotel room in Austin and call all these guys and get them to send money because they would believe it was her.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Her name was Bree Condon.
Bree Condon.
If you look at her pictures, you knew she wasn't trying to hit up Bobby.
Rude. I'm still offended, even though I know it wasn't real.
Was that a real person, Bree Condon?
Yeah.
She's a
Okay,
guest.
that was
She's
a
about
real
to
person.
Google her.
We
dude.
ended up
She's
reaching out to her,
smoking hot.
and she was like, "Nope, don't have a brother."
Wow.
She
There you
is.
go, Eddie.
I guess maybe she ended up being on Vampire Diaries or something later on.
Oh, dude, she's really pretty.
She's 34 now. Bree Condon.
Yeah.
She is an American. But yeah, I believed it. I was like, there you go. But that's my point.
Yeah.
Back to your son.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Is that they don't know who they're talking about. But anyway, we had the conversation. It was awkward, yes, and it's like you have to share these things with them. But what ended up being really cool is I was like, I think in order for me to understand him and his argument about playing the game and chatting, I'm going to play it with him. So, dude, we ended up playing for like 45 minutes. I love the game. Now we play it every day.
Do you like it?
I love it. And I'm like, dude, the chat's perfect. Like, you need the chat. And my wife's like, what are you saying? I'm like, no. You need the chat because you're trying to find out who the imposter is in the room.
Could we all play and gamble?
Who the imposter is in the room?
Like if me, you, Lunchbox, Ray, Mike D,
Absolutely.
and you all bet money on who?
Absolutely. The problem is I don't know if we can all get into a room together.
Oh, you can't do it as friends?
I haven't figured that out yet, but we may be able to.
There's like a code. You can do it.
There's a
Do
code.
I
Okay,
get?
there you
do
go.
I get to pick who the imposter is?
No. The game picks who the imposter is, but we all have to find out
Can
who
the
it is.
imposter win, though, by not being picked?
That's how you win.
Oh, so y'all put in $5 at the beginning.
Yeah.
You get assigned,
Huh.
and then whoever wins, either the imposter. No, Ray?
It just wouldn't work because there's some people are crewmates and some people are imposters. There's no way to gamble on that. You don't know what you're about to be.
I know, but if everybody puts in $5 beforehand, and if there's one winner, right? Is there one winner?
There's one winner. If you're the imposter and never get figured out, you win
You
the
win.
game.
But then if none of us are the imposters, nobody wins.
No, but I'm saying
One
if
of
it's
them's gonna
only us
be
in a room.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
If we had 10 people.
You have to have 10?
To make it full, yeah.
But
I
can you
believe
play
so.
with a half room?
No.
All right, well, we'll figure it out. But anyway, fun game, and I think we can do it.
Here you go. Man accused of impersonating model, swindling wealthy men online. This is from ABC News. They had been in contact for months when the woman who identified herself as model Bree Condon made the first request for money. Mark Puelos said the pair met online and exchanged telephone calls and emails. Bree, he said, sent pictures of herself. Justin A. Brown, 24 years old, was indicted by a grand jury of felony theft in Austin, Texas for impersonating the real Bree Condon, a Guess Jeans model.
Dang.
I almost fell for this.
So if they would have gotten caught, you probably would have,
They would have dated.
Married her.
yeah, for sure. And then none of this would have happened.
No.